see if people actually start coming in. Yeah, just give it a couple minutes and then we can start asking you questions. Where are you based at?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, you're in Kentucky?
Yep.
Where are you based at? Let me turn this down. Yeah, last time I was in Kentucky, man, some dude gave me a cold, man. I was mad as hell. He was sneezing in his hand, and then he handed me the ball. I was driving a box truck. I came home for like a week. It was sick like a dog, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead because I'm going to record this and then I'll put it on my channel. So go ahead and tell me your name and your business, what you do, and how long you've been doing this.
Yeah, so my name is Nick Slaughter, trucking insurance. About 2 years ago, but I've been in the insurance industry since 2003. Man, I've done it all. I started out in claims. I've done employee benefits. I've been a broker, and then I just decided, found my niche, trucking, and started my January 1 of 2021 is when I started my agency, and all I do is trucking insurance. And I found a niche within the trucking niche of helping new venture truckers get started. So it started out just being an insurance thing for me, but then I started a YouTube channel just educating truckers on how to get set up, how to get started, from creating the entity to getting their EIN number all the way to getting insurance and getting their authority active. So that's been a niche within my trucking niche, but I also help seasoned truckers that have been in business for a long time. So if it's anything to do with trucking, I can help.
Yeah, so I always tell people when you look for an insurance to actually find one that knows about the trucking industry, because sometimes they'll get like a regular agent, when they go to Progressive and they'll look for a box truck insurance agent, and then, the agent doesn't really know much about it.
That's true. There's a story about a barber that had a barbershop. Then one day he comes to work to his barbershop, and across the street, there's another barbershop that just popped up and it said $5 haircuts. And this guy's like, well, what am I going to do here? This guy's going to undercut, steal my business. So he came up with a marketing plan. Next day he came in and he had to sign up and said, I fix $5 haircuts. So the point of that story is, make sure that you're dealing with an expert that deals with trucking, because I fixed so many insurance policies that got screwed up that was written by an insurance agent, but that insurance agent may be specialized in personal auto or homeowners insurance or contractors and stuff like that, but they didn't have the trucking experience. So they didn't know exactly what they were doing, but they didn't turn it down. They just kind of stumbled upon it, stumbled through it, and it wasn't correct. So it's harder to fix than if you just get it right up front. And it's easy for folks to see if they're dealing with somebody that understands, like go to their website. You know what I mean? If it screams trucking, then odds are you can trust this agent. They know their stuff. But if you go to their website and it's all homeowners and it's property and it's this and it's that, and they do everything under the sun, then you should think about finding somebody that maybe specializes in trucking.
Well, I do dispatching. I dispatch for some people. I try not to dispatch too much because I hate it. Especially box trucks is a pain in the ass. But I've dealt with agents that were just regular agents, and whenever I needed to put a broker on the certificate, it would take hours for them to try to do it manually. Usually there's something like online where you can go and you can automatically set these things up where you put the broker on the COI.
Certificates are easy, man. It's so easy if it's done right. So all my clients get access to an online portal of mine. So 9 times out of 10, my clients will text me, email me, or call me and say that they need a certificate. Then I jump right on it. But if it's after hours or it's 1 o'clock in the morning and they were waiting on a load and they need this certificate ASAP, or they're not going to get the load, they can go into the portal, send a certificate to that certificate holder as if the certificate came from me. Because a lot of times the brokers and the shippers want to see the certificate come from the insurance agent. So they have access to that tool if need be. But again, it's part of my service. I do it for them 9 times out of 10, but they do have it to their availability after hours. That shouldn't take hours. That's a 2-minute thing.
Yeah, it took a couple of hours, and you lose loads that way. They're not familiar with the trucking industry. You have to be fast, and you got to get these certificates because half the brokers, they want to be put on the certificate.
They want to be on there, and if you don't get it quickly, they're going to lose the load.
Right.
And that's the last thing you want to do is piss them off, and they're not getting paid. I mean, speed is of the essence when it comes to those certificates.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Do you got like an echo coming from over there? Because I hear like an echo.
I don't hear one.
Maybe it's me. I mean, I've never done this, so it's probably on my end. So sorry about that. All right, so okay, I think it went away. Perfect. I don't hear it anymore.
Okay, must have been me then. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I was trying to figure out over here if it was me because I have so much stuff plugged in. All right, I have another question for you. How do you save money with the insurance? Like, what's the best way to save money? Where you park your stuff. Does credit, play a role?
Yeah, credit plays a role, especially for the newer folks. Folks that have been in business for 3+ years, credit isn't as much of a factor. But if you're a new guy or been in business for a couple of years, credit's a huge deal. That's the biggest deal. And then the second thing would be the motor vehicle report. So the insurance companies are going to look at the motor vehicle report. They're going to look at moving violations, and they're going to look at fault accidents. And depending on the insurance company and the state, they're going to go back anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So those are the 2 biggest rating factors. After that, I would just say it's the cost of the equipment that you're insuring. A $100,000 box truck is going to be more expensive to insure than a $50,000 box truck. The other things to consider is obviously the state that you're in. These insurance companies have it down to the zip code. So let's just say, for example, you're in the state of Georgia, and if you have an Atlanta zip code, you're going to pay more than somebody that's outside of Atlanta and in Savannah or something like that. So they have it down to the zip code, and then the commodities that you're hauling. Everybody's going to be a for-hire trucker, but are you hauling autos? Are you a logger? Or are you a general freight? The thing about it is, a lot of times people mess it up is they'll start an insurance policy and they'll be labeled as a general freight guy, but they're hauling autos. And the insurance company, every insurance company has what's called a free look period. And that's the first 30 to 60 days after the policy started, where the insurance company gets to dot the I's and cross the T's. They're going to go to Safer. They're going to see what they're authorized to haul. They're going to look at the equipment that they're insured. And if they find out that something was wrong, the policy was started, that's their opportunity to correct it. And they'll send them a bill. They're going to catch it every time. And then they'll send them a bill in the mail saying, hey, we had to change your premium. And it never goes down, right? It always goes up. So here's your new payment amount. And there's nothing you can do about it unless you were to leave that insurance company. So those are the things that's most important when you're, I always tell people, I don't, talk to 3 agents, get a quote from me and then get a quote from 2 other insurance agents. But when you compare quotes, just make sure you're comparing apples to apples quote. You just want to make sure that you're being rated properly. Your radius is correct. That's another thing that can affect your premiums, your radius. I mean, you could be, 200-mile radius, 500-mile radius, unlimited radius. But if you're unlimited, but you're being rated as at a low radius, you're going to get busted. As soon as you get a inspection outside of that radius, or a claim, or a moving violation, insurance company's going to know, because it gets put in Safer. And then they're just going to be raising your rates after that. Plus, you lose that trust with the insurance company, and some of them could end up just completely canceling your policy, and you don't want to burn any bridges.
Yeah, I just want to follow. I don't know if you mentioned this, but let's say the spot where you park your box truck. Let's say they don't have it. Let's say they're in the city like Atlanta, a major city like you said, and they decide to those rental places where you could park RVs for like $100 a month. It might be at another place. Would that affect the rate? Would that be able to lower the rate?
Yeah, absolutely, it will be. Yeah. So the way you would write that insurance policy is your mailing address would be whatever the mailing address is. Let's say, he's working from his home, but he's renting space at one of these storage facilities, 30 miles south of Atlanta. Well, whatever that storage facility's address is, that would be the garaging address. So that's what the insurance companies go off of, the garaging address, not the physical address. So that's highly recommended to, get outside.
Yeah, a lot of people, they park them in the street, they park them in their driveway, and they're cheap. They're like $100. You can rent an RV spot, like you said, 30, 40 miles away, and totally, change their.
I got a customer right now, an insured, that one of my clients, he's in Kentucky. In his first year in business, he was storing his truck at his residence in Kentucky. And then he just recently, he lives on the border of Kentucky and Indiana, right across the Ohio River. He found a storage facility in Indiana that he's renting, that he's storing his truck in at night when he's not driving. So you can't have, if you're garaging your vehicle out of state, you have to have a policy in the state that you're garaging your vehicle. So this guy, we had to cancel his policy because it was a Kentucky policy, and we rewrote him an Indiana policy with the same insurance company, and it was $10,000 a year cheaper just by switching states. So zip code does have a whole lot to do with your premium.
I'm sorry, you can still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the echo was, I had the Facebook running at the same time, and I'm hearing the Facebook and you at the same time, and I just closed it and it went away, man.
Okay.
Thank God, man. I was trying to keep up with the echo. All right, so here's another question I get all the time, man. There's people that are young, they're 18, 19, fresh out of high school, and they want to get into the box truck business. But, when you drive a regular car, they say anything under 25 is going to be, crazy expensive. Is it the same with the commercial insurance? I mean, it's better off for them to wait, or?
I mean, it's going to be expensive if they can afford the insurance. I mean, but 25 to, I'd say the ideal range would be 25 to 60. I mean, there's a point where when you're not old enough where you're going to get penalized, and then there's a point where you get too old that you're going to get penalized. But
yeah, because people, they come out of high school, want to start, and if the insurance is too high, that really cuts into your profit. Your CPM becomes so high that especially in a box truck, where there's not as many loads as there is semi trucks.
Yep.
And I always tell them to wait, but it's hard to tell people to wait till they're 25, to get into the business.
My advice for that young buck would be to work for somebody else and just bank money. I mean, that's the most important. I mean, if you're talking for any new guys that are getting ready to get started or just got started or thinking about getting started, the most important thing is to have a little bit of money set aside to float you along for the first 3 to 6 months, because it's tough. I mean, 50% of all new venture truckers close shop within the first year. I mean, that's very high failure rate. And usually it's because they don't have enough money set aside to float them. It's hard to get loads the first 90 days. It's not impossible, but it's harder than if you've had
Yeah.
your authority for more than 90 days. So, if I'm young, if I'm 20 years old, I'm going to work for somebody, learn the ropes, and, have a mentor, bank my money. And then when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And I got a little bit of money behind me that's so, to invest in this company and make sure it's going to survive.
Yeah, I always say the same thing. I say, first go on the road for somebody, see if this is even for you, because the road's not for everybody. Living on the road, driving 10, 11 hours a day, and then you got to look for hotels. I mean, you're out weeks at a time, and insurance is expensive, man, especially when you're young. So
If it's me, if I'm young, if I'm 20 years old or 25 years old and I'm starting a trucking company today, here's the way I would do it is, let's say I'm doing a box truck, get my authority, got my box truck. I'm going to be the driver for the first year. I'll be on the road. I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to learn how to get loads, learn how to do the dispatching, uh, learn what it takes to be successful on the road. And then my next
go ahead, you're still there. I'm still here.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then my goal after that is to figure out how to get my butt out of the seat and hire a driver. So I don't
Yeah.
want to own a job. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own a business. So, but that first year driving is going to help me understand the ins and outs of the entire industry. And then I hire a driver to replace me. So now I'm sitting back and I'll manage it. I'll dispatch it. I've got a driver. I've got a truck. And now my next goal is going to be to get another truck.
Right.
Then you get another driver. The key to that, though, what can make you or break you in the business is your drivers. If you have a driver that's motor vehicle report, prior claims, um, that insurance is going to be very expensive. And you want to hire somebody that's trustworthy, that you're going to be they're going to be in your equipment, that you're going to trust to take care of it as if it was their own. That's why you incentivize them, you pay them well. I would have a program in place where if they, for every 6 months, they're incident free, meaning no moving violation, no claim, no out of service, maybe give them a bonus, a $300 bonus. It's well worth it
It
compared
is.
to that out of service or that claim or that moving violation on what the impact is going to be on your insurance.
Yeah, I think it's important, man. I remember one time I was dispatching for somebody, and I guess the driver he smoked his pot. You know what I'm saying? That's fine, but you can't smoke it on the road. And I sent him somewhere. He was going to a prison, and he got scared, and then we ended up missing on a $6,000 load because the prison closed at a time. I always tell people always check your drivers. Make sure where would somebody go to do like a DMV check for the drivers, because I think it's important, man. What you just said about the drivers. Most people, they go on Facebook and they say, "Hey, I'm looking for a driver," not knowing, if they have a weed habit. I used to smoke weed when I was younger, and they're going to different cities, and if they run out of weed, they might bring the truck, into some place, looking for weed, and that's not what you want, and you don't want a driver that has DUIs and stuff like that, because it's going to drive your insurance through the roof. So, is there
I
any way
use,
that?
yeah, I
I'm sorry,
use
go ahead.
mvrcheck.com. MVR for motor vehicle report check.com. I mean, on average, it's $20 to get a motor vehicle report with all that
For each
history.
person, right?
Yep. So a lot of companies, what they'll do is they'll pass that cost on. to the person that they're thinking about hiring, like, hey, we need a motor
Yeah.
vehicle report. And then it's so easy to do. You just go log in and you put the name and the driver's license number and the email address, and that driver gets an email. They click here, they pay online, and then the motor vehicle report goes to that trucking company, and then they can evaluate it.
Yeah, 'cause you definitely got to do that, man. I have another question. You do cargo van insurance, no?
Yeah.
What is like the minimum, that they need to get right? The box truck, you're gonna need at least $1 million and 100,000 in cargo before any broker will work with you. Now, as
Yeah.
far as the cargo van, it's got to be lower. But what size is it? Like 300,000 or
Well, it's just like with the box trucks and the semis. I mean, the FMCSA for a box truck or a semi says you need 750,000.
right? That's the
But
minimum.
that's the minimum, but I don't that's a
Nobody's
ridiculous minimum because everybody out there is going to require that they have 1 million,
Yeah,
right?
nobody's gonna work with you with
Yeah.
750.
So
That's
for
just
a
to get it
cargo
active.
van, it's 300,000 to get your authority active if you have a cargo van. But again, I got a lot of cargo van clients that have $1 million in coverage because that's what they need to get work, to get loads. So it's not much different than the big trucks. I mean, you may find shippers that are brokers that's going to let you get away with 300,000.
Yeah.
But most of them require that you have 1 million.
So it's the same with the box truck. They want that $1 million policy.
Yep.
Now, but let's say, is the rate the same, or is the rate different? From a box truck. Because if it's the same $1 million, uh, you know, a van is going to be definitely going to be worth less than a
That's right.
box truck. But is there
That's where
like
the
a big
difference
difference?
is. The one thing that's the same, whether you're a cargo van, you're a box truck, you're a hot shot, you're a semi, you're considered a for hire trucker. You're a
Right.
trucker for hire. So that's the business class. And then if let's assume everybody's hauling general freight. So you're a for hire trucker hauling general freight. That's the same whether you're in a cargo van or a semi and everything in between. Where the difference is the equipment. So, to your point, a cargo van is going to be worth much less than a $200,000 brand new Peterbilt, so less risk for the insurance company to insure. So it's going to be less premium. That's the physical damage. That's the comp and the collision. But the big ticket item when it comes to insurance is the liability. That $1 million in liability, whether you're doing a cargo van or a box truck or a semi, it's up there.
Yeah. I got another question that I get all the time, man, and it's about felonies. Or you know what? Yeah, it's about felonies. I always tell people, they're worried. They commit a felony, maybe a drug charge. They do their time. They pay their debt to society, and they think nobody's going to work with them. They think that, and I always tell them, when you start your own business, it doesn't matter, because they don't do felony checks. Is that something they do with an insurance quote?
No.
Yeah, because a lot of people worry, they have man, they might have a felony or misdemeanors, and they actually all the time, man. And I'm not an insurance agent. I try to help as much as I can. That's why I'm glad you did this with me. I talked to you months ago. I had like 600 subscribers. I said I was going to do it, and then here we are. Months later. I'm so sorry, because I get busy and I haven't done it, man. So that was one of the questions I wanted
As
to.
long as that felony didn't have anything to do with the vehicle, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
no, if it's
as
not on the
long as it's
motor
not on
vehicle
the motor
report,
vehicle record.
that's right.
That could be a DUI or an accident. Yeah, I don't know why people, I always tell them, stop letting your past dictate your future. You know what I'm saying? If you did what you did, people um, move on. People grow, and people, like I said, they pay their debt, and they always think, that it's to hold them back. But honestly, in the trucking industry, it doesn't really hold you back, because if you're a business owner, who's going to do a background check on you unless you do it on yourself and
That's right.
decide you're not gonna? Yeah. All right, so I have some.
Somebody like that's a little hesitant or a little worried, and it's not a bad idea for anybody thinking about getting into the game. I would highly recommend going to an insurance agent and getting a quote even before you create your entity, before you apply for your authority, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to what seems like on a weekly basis that went through the entire process. They got their LLC established and their EIN, and they went to the FMCSA and they got their bank account, and they did all this stuff. They did their BOC3, they did their DOT physical, and then they start shopping for insurance. And then some people get a really good rate. Some people get a rate that you would unbelievably high. So, and then they don't ever get started, and they've spent all this money. So I'm a big fan of reaching out to an insurance agent and say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a trucking company. Well, a good insurance agent's going to say, well, what are you going to be driving? Well, I'm going to be driving a $50,000 box truck. I've been looking at it. Okay, well, I can get you a quote based on a $50,000 box truck, and that'll give you an idea what your insurance is going to look like. Is that okay? Is this a price that you can stomach and that you can pay? Yeah, it is. Okay, then go ahead and proceed and start get the paperwork, get your authority active. But you know, don't do everything and wait to the last minute to get insurance or to get shopping for insurance, because it could be detrimental to you, man.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask you. How to get a quote without a VIN number? Most
Now you
people
can
when
get
they
a
start.
quote without a VIN number, but really the only place that you can get a quote without a VIN number is with Progressive.
Right.
So Progressive, they have us agents have a system that they give us access to where we can just put the year, make, and model and the value of it. That's for quote purposes only. But to start the policy, we would need a VIN number.
Yeah, you'd have to update it. I have some questions here. Let me get to these questions. Let me see what this is. This is Miguel Rodriguez. He says, How much is a down payment for insurance? I mean,
It
that can
depends on the
vary.
state and the insurance company, but I can give you a range. The lowest that I've seen is 9% down. That's somebody that's like stellar credit, A1. You're going to get about a 9% down, all the way up to 20 to 25% of the annual premium. So if you're talking about a $10,000 annual premium for easy math, the most that you would probably pay would be 2,500 down. The anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 on that $10,000 annual premium policy. But not everybody's getting a $10,000 annual premium policy. Realistically, you're probably in the $15,000 to $25,000 range per
I
year.
mean, I've seen some ridiculous quotes, man, and if I remember right, maybe as down payments as high as 10,000 or something. I'm not sure. Maybe they were reckless drivers or something, but
Yeah, there's awful numbers that I've seen. It's like it gets to the point where I
it's
don't
not
even want to
profitable.
share the quote. I don't even want to share the quote with the trucker because, number one, I don't want to offend them. I just say, hey, man,
Right.
I don't have a good market for you. Um, you might want to just lease on to somebody else for a little bit until you get your credit straightened out, because that's not a bad thing to do either. You know what I mean? Like you can try to start your company or try to start your insurance and see if you can afford it, and if you can't, go lease on with somebody for a little bit and just bank some money.
Yeah. So it's not the end of the road. You can always go work for somebody else. I mean, that would be like the best thing because I've seen some quotes. People post on Facebook and they've been ridiculous. So 9% would be a good rate for somebody with
Yeah,
good credit.
9% is the lowest. That's kind of rare though. I don't want to mislead anybody to think that they're only going to be paying
Right.
9 to 10% down. I mean, on average, it's 15 to 25.
And then the total amount varies too. You know what I'm saying? Somebody with good credit, do you have like a number? Like, let's say it's 40,000, or let's say it's 20,000 a year for somebody with good credit, and somebody with bad credit, they might pay 50,000 or something. Total, aside from the down payment. Is that how that works?
Yeah, yeah. But I would hate to write anybody a policy for $50,000, one truck. From my experience, when I first started my agency, I'm hungry for clients, and I send somebody a $50,000 quote for one box truck, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, okay, let's go. And then 3 months later, they're calling me to cancel their policy. It's not good for a
Yeah,
trucker. You're working to pay insurance. You can't afford it.
yeah, it cuts in your profit, man, and your
Yeah, man,
CPM
it's
goes
not
through the
good for
roof.
anybody. So I don't do that anymore. You know, I try to coach them and let them know, like, what, from my experience, here's what you need to be successful. And, but then there's other people that have sucked it up for a year and paid high insurance, and they were clean as a whistle, no DOT, their safer score looked good, no moving violations, no claims. And that at renewal, their policy went way down. So I'm not going to discourage anybody and say, don't do it. I'm just saying, just make sure you understand what you're doing.
Right. What about the time of the violations? Let's say something, you had a violation, maybe a DUI 10, 15 years ago.
No,
Is there like a certain a year range that you guys
three to
look at?
five. 3 to
3 to
5
5,
years. It
anything
depends on
over
the
that
insurance
doesn't matter?
company. Yeah, just depends on the insurance company and the state. Every state, like with Progressive in most states go back 5 years now. It used to be 3, but they have some states where they're still, like in Kentucky, they only go back 3 years.
So 3 to 5 year, that's the average that they look back, something 10
Yep,
years down the road won't even have an effect on the
that's
quote.
right. 10 years ago, 6 years ago, it doesn't even matter. And when I talk to a trucker and I've given them a quote, or they go to my website and fill out the quote request form, I specifically ask, how many moving violations have you had in the last 5 years? How many at-fault accidents have you had in the last 5 years? And I hope that they all don't try to. You're not going to get over on the motor vehicle report. I mean, it's there.
Yeah,
So
it's
be
public
honest so
information.
that I can give you a good quote, because they're going to check the motor vehicle report right before we start the policy. So there's nothing worse than somebody filling it out saying that they have 0 moving violations, 0 accidents, and then we run the motor vehicle report, and then 3 things pop up, and then the insurance rate that they think that they were going to pay goes sky high. I mean, you can't get around it.
Yeah, I understand. Here's another question. This one's from M. Grayson. It says, what's the down payment? I think we covered that here. It depends on your credit, your motor vehicle record, place where the truck's going to be parked.
Yeah,
And
and then I'm not sure exactly what M. Grayson's asking, but a down payment. I mean, no matter the insurance company, when you start an insurance policy, your first year, you're going to have a down payment, and that down payment's usually elevated compared to your normal monthly payments. You're going to get put on a bill plan. So let's just use Progressive, for example. So Progressives, they offer you a direct bill, which means they're going to tell you what the down payment is, anywhere from 9 to 20, 25%. You pay that to start the policy, and then in 30 days, you have your first monthly payment. But you may be put on a 10-pay plan. So you pay your down payment. That's one of 10 payments. And then you have 9 monthly payments remaining. And then the last 2 months, you don't have any payments. So it gives you time to catch up. And then when your policy renews, you don't have a down payment. You just have what's called a renewal payment. So let's say your premium is $10,000 a year. They're going to charge you $1,000 a month for 10 months. You don't have that elevated down payment. So that down payment's only when you first start a policy with an insurance company, normally.
yeah, so that once you do that first down payment, and as long as you're continuous with the company, there's no more, you don't have to do that again the following year.
Yeah. That's the way it works with Progressive. Now, if you're outside of Progressive, there's a couple other insurance companies that offer a direct bill, but they're too far in between. A lot of times, if Progressive's not a good fit, us agents have to go through a broker to get access to the other trucking markets. And none of them, well, I don't want to say none of them. Northland does sometimes. It depends on how long you've been in business, how many trucks you have, and stuff like that. But they don't offer direct bills. So if they don't offer direct bills, you got to pay the premium up front, right?
Wow.
Let's say you have let's say it's $20,000 a year. Well, they're gonna ask for $20,000. Most people can't pay $20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Premium finance company involved. So the premium finance company. So I go to a premium finance company and say, hey, there's a guy that here's his information, here's his quote, here's his social security number. Will you premium finance this? And they're going to come back to me and they're going to say, yep, we'll premium finance it, but we're going to want 25% down. And then here's his monthly payments. And oh, by the way, here's the interest rate. So you got to pay interest. So that can be hard to stomach.
So you guys actually have finance companies that help with the actual payment of the.
Yep. So the finance company.
I never knew that.
Yep. The finance company pays the insurance company for the full year, and the trucker pays the finance company back monthly payments, just like putting kind of like on a credit card. But you still have a down payment, and usually that down payment's almost always 25%. So
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it can be expensive, and then you got that interest as well.
Yeah, I never knew that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I always tell people, if you're going to look for an agent, look for somebody that deals with trucking. Look for a trucker, commercial trucker insurance agent. Because I didn't know that. I know they do them with the trucks, the cars. They have like 40, 50 finance companies, and all you have to do is just give them your name, your social and stuff like that. But I didn't know they did that with the insurance company. So that's something I'm guessing most insurance agents don't even know that because I've never heard of that. I didn't
Yeah,
know
I mean,
you
if
could finance
they're
that.
a trucking expert, they do. You
Right.
know, they do because like I got about three premium finance companies that I use on a consistent basis. So every one of them has a little bit different
So you just
things.
have different options to get them
Yeah, and
financed better.
that's on the agent to square all that away. The trucker doesn't have to worry about that. So if I give somebody a quote from a broker like that, I'm going to show them what the total premium is being offered, and then what the finance charges are, what the down payment is, and then what their monthly payments are in a premium finance agreement. So they'll get that agreement that they have to sign, and usually they're going to require the checking account information to be automatically withdrawn.
And the payments are usually, you said they're spread out 5 or 10 months. Is that like the normal?
Not 5 months. At minimum 9 months.
About 9 months minimum.
Yeah,
So
9 months, 10 months, 11 months.
then you said the 2 months they have like that buffer, to get this
Yeah, if
stuff
you're on a
together.
10-pay plan, you're going to have the first 10 months you're going to have payments, and then the last 2 you don't have anything, which is a nice little catch-up period.
All right, so I'm going to go to your website. I have your website here because I really want to show people what this is. Give me 1 second, man. My phone, I try to put it on airplane mode. I don't know what, and it didn't work. So sorry about that. So I'm on your truck. Can you see your website?
Yeah.
I'm going to click right here on the get a certificate. Oh no, that takes you to the Progressive site. I've been on there. All right, I don't know if you can see it. So right here, you have a button here. This is for the Progressive online service. That's where you put the broker as a certificate. Can you explain how that works? I mean,
No, that
it's pretty
Progressive
fast
Online
process.
Self-Service, yeah, that's where a trucker, if they need to get they can get a certificate, or they can get a ID card for the truck, or anything like that, any type of online servicing. That's just for after hours stuff. So
Yeah.
most of my clients, they'll just email me or text me or call me and say, hey, can you do this for me? And I'll do it. If it's after hours or the weekend or 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they need something that can't wait until Monday, then they can go to my website. And if they're with Progressive, they can go to this online self-service, or even if they're with Progressive or any other insurance company, they can get a certificate. On the far right, they get a certificate. They get access to a portal where they can go in and send their certificate to whoever needs it 24/7.
Yeah, I've used it before, and if I say maybe within a minute, I can get that certificate. The company has a certificate holder mailed to them within a minute, so it's not hard at all. But not everybody has it. Like I said, I've dispatched for people where they had to call their insurance agent. The insurance agent didn't even know what they were talking about, and they'd be on the phone for 2 hours, and then we lose the loads automatically. But
That's
this is
one clue
something.
right there that they don't know. They're not specialists in trucking.
Yeah, that's why I say get a trucker insurance agent, and this is easy. This is not even hard, man. You can get a certificate within a minute. I mean, I do them quick, man, and I send them out, and then I just go ask for the rate con. But they ask for it all the time. It could be, let's say, about 40% of the time, 30 to 40%, they ask to be put on as a certificate holder.
Oh yeah,
And
I do them all day long, every day.
yeah, and they get phone calls, and if you have to call an agent to actually do that, those little minutes you can just lose the load. I mean, I've lost loads because people had bad insurance, in my opinion. I guess that's it. All right, that's everything. I mean, do you have anything you want to add, or?
No. I mean, I think the most important thing I've mentioned earlier, is when you're comparing quotes, you have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples quote. So when I send somebody a quote, I've created a spreadsheet that they'll get in the email, and then they'll see everything line by line, the coverage and the price, the amount, and then the price, the down payment, the monthly payments, and that's me on Red Ox. And then I'll put another column, agent 2, and then agent 3. And I encourage everybody, hey, use that spreadsheet, go talk to 2 other agents and get quotes. You got to shop around, see what's best for you, but make sure you're comparing apples to apples, because
Right.
I'll get a phone call from somebody saying, hey man, I just got a quote from the same insurance company that you gave me a quote from, and it's $2,000 cheaper. Well, there's no way it's cheaper unless something's different, because there is no one agent doesn't have the advantage over another when it comes to premiums. I don't care if you're the biggest, baddest insurance agency in the country, or you're a small dude that's working out of your garage. Everybody's going to get the same rate if it's quoted the exact same. So
Right.
where you pick somebody is making sure they're expert, they know what they're doing. You're going to get the certificates, the customer service, and the things like that. That's how you pick an agent, not just
Yeah.
on price, because that price could change if it's not written correctly, the policy. So shop around. If anybody needs an insurance quote from me, I don't care what state you're in, I can help you. So on my
Yeah.
website, there's that truck insurance quote form. Everything I need to get a good quote, we'll get you hooked up.
Yeah, I have one more question that I didn't see here. It's from this guy, and his name is Pax. It said, "Okay, please, can you tell me how to get a policy with cargo insurance fast that's rated?" I don't know what he means by rated. Are you able to see the question on the board?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, how to get a cargo insurance fast?
Policy with cargo insurance fast. That's a rated. I don't know what he means by
Yeah,
rated, but
usually, I mean, there's not a whole lot of insurance companies that are write what's called a standalone cargo policy. So he's asking, how do I get a cargo insurance policy fast? That's like A rated, because if you get a cargo policy from an insurance company that
oh,
maybe
okay.
not be rated properly, they're not going to get the load. Like, they're going to say, no, we're not going to give you this load because this insurance company you with is trash, in our opinion. So we're not going to give you the load, probably because they denied a claim down the road and it pissed them off, and they don't want to deal with that insurance company anymore because they don't want to risk them not paying another claim. But to answer your question, there's not a whole lot of insurance companies out there that write the standalone cargo insurance. Usually you have an insurance agent, they're going to handle your insurance, and they're going to write you the whole package, because you're going to need the liability insurance. You're going to need most people are going to need the physical damage insurance, which is the comp and collision, and then the cargo. Now, there are a lot of insurance companies will write the physical damage and the cargo together, the comp and the collision and the cargo coverage together, specifically when you don't need that liability or you have it somewhere else. If you're leased onto somebody, you're going to be covered under their liability insurance and their cargo. And if they're smart, when they have you sign a lease agreement, within that lease agreement, they're going to tell you that you should get your own non-trucking liability policy, and your own physical damage. So you'll have that separate from them. And then they may charge you for the insurance premium increase that you're going to cause them for adding you and your truck to their policy. But the reason they want you to get your own non-trucking liability policy is because non-trucking liability kicks in as primary when you're not under load, when you're not working. So let's say you're not working for this carrier today, so it's your day off and you're just going to take, maybe get an oil change, some servicing done to it, and then the accident occurs. Well, that carrier that you're leased onto doesn't want to claim, especially when you're not even working for them. They're not making money from you. So they're going to want your own insurance to cover that. And that's where the non-trucking liability kicks in. That'll make you whole. And it prevents a claim against the person that you're leased onto.
All right. So a quick question. Rentals, like Hertz, not Hertz, um, Budget and Enterprise, they rent box trucks. Is it the same quote, as if you owned or leased a truck, or is there something different? So it's the
No,
exact same.
no. I mean, there's like a $20 fee because you got to add them as a lost payee. That's it.
But as
So
far as the quote comes,
yeah, the
it doesn't matter
premium
if you
doesn't
have a
change.
rental,
The
right?
premium doesn't change because you own it or lease it or rent it. It's the same premium whether you're doing any one of those three.
All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this video on my channel. I'm gonna optimize it, like we were talking about earlier, the SEO, and I'm gonna make a blog post. I'm gonna link this video on my blog too. So that way, when traffic comes looking for, like I said, I'm not an insurance agent, so I don't mind sending you the traffic because that's what you do. You specialize in this. So I'm gonna do that. You be ready to give insurance quotes to anybody that asks for it.
Anybody.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna save the video and I'm gonna optimize it. And anybody that comes my way, as far as insurance, I'll just send them your way.
I appreciate that. I'll be happy to help them.
All right, then we'll do that. What's your website again? Your website?
RedOxTruckInsurance.com.
RedOxTruckInsurance.com, and the phone number?
502-510-3030.
And then the office hours, so they can call you anytime, or?
Yeah, so I'm usually in the office 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 9 to noon on Saturdays. I'm Eastern time zone, but I'm available even after hours. If somebody calls me and I'm not doing anything, I'm going to pick up.
Yeah. All right. So it's got, before I leave real quick, it says you were right about the 8 rated part, but you needed both. Sorry for not being transparent. I should have said that as well. I'm guessing you answered the question that he was referring to, no?
Good.
All right. And right here, let me see. I'm on your website now. So there's a button. People are shy, especially when it comes online. I'm shy. It took me a while to make these videos, but people, would prefer to get a quote, without having to speak to anybody. This is how they can get a quote on your website. Or you know what? That was the wrong one. Here it goes. Hit the track.
If you click that truck insurance quote, it's just going to take you to a form, and you just fill in the blanks, and then it's everything that I need to get you a good insurance quote. If you don't fill it out all the way, then I'll have to call you and fill in the gaps. But if you fill that out completely and hit submit, it comes straight to my email, and then I get right to work for you.
Do you have a question here about, ELD? I always heard ELDs, depending what company, you get a discount for those too, or?
Yeah. So some insurance companies will give you a discount if you have an ELD. Progressive, by far if you're a new venture trucker and you just get your ELD, then you're going to get 5%. That's all you're going to get is 5%. But if you've had your ELD installed in your truck for greater than 90 days, that discount range is anywhere from 5 to 20%. So it's hard to get 20%. You got to be like squeaky clean driver, but they're checking things like, they're only going to look at the last 90 days. You've had an ELD for 2 years. They're only going to look at the last 90 days, and they're going to look at rapid acceleration. They're going to look at braking hard, things like that. So as long as you're not braking hard and gunning it every time, you'll get a decent rate. But some people get scared and they're thinking, I don't want to share, this ELD data with the insurance company because that could go against me in a bad way, but it doesn't. So there's no worry about that. You could be a complete train wreck, gunning it. And I mean, you could be horrible and you're still going to get 5% discount just for participating. So that's the worst thing that can happen to you. So if you're a new venture trucker, you're only going to get 5%. But what happens at renewal in 1 year from now, they're going to look at that last 90 days and base it off of that.
And they can go up 20%. Is that off the total cost? I mean,
yep.
10,
to have liability insurance. If it's just like physical damage and cargo insurance, then it doesn't apply. You have to have the liability, the primary liability.
Yeah, but 5 to 20% discount just for having an ELD that you have to have anyways is.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something right here. I'm glad you triggered this. I had lunch not too long ago with an attorney. She's a defense attorney for truck drivers. So she defends truckers. They're being sued. So everybody knows that, truckers never get the benefit of the doubt. If the big bad truck is on the road and there's an accident and there's no witnesses or whatever, the trucker's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So what she told me that I need to start preaching to my clients and to prospects, to any trucker that I get a hold of, is you need to get a dash cam.
You need a good. So if you are going to get your ELD with, say, Motive, formerly Keep Trucking, they offer great dash cams. So just bundle it. Get your ELD and your dash cam. I'm not talking about one that's facing the driver. I'm talking about forward-facing dash cam, because in the event some Yahoo pulls out in front of that trucker and causes an accident, it's on film. Like, insurance companies are looking at that video and they're exonerating truck drivers from any liability based on video evidence. And don't buy a cheap one. Don't go to Amazon and buy a $40 dash cam, because she also brought that up to me. She said that she was has a case where the dash cam was damaged, and they have these forensic people that can, like, do pretty much the impossible and still retrieve the data. But on the cheap ones, they couldn't do it. So don't go chintzy on it. Get you a really good dash cam along with when you get your ELD. That's the best advice I
Yeah,
can give you.
you can write it off. I have dash cams in my cars, and yeah, let me tell you, people lie. People lie. I've been hit while I was sitting parking, picking up some food, and the guy was with his buddy, and he just sat there and lied to my face. I was so angry. I'm angry, and I'm telling him, man, you hit me. You know what I'm saying? If he would, it wasn't a big accident, but it was on the camera. And he's sitting there denying they're plotting together their story, and if I didn't have that camera, I wouldn't have got no money for it. I got like $2,000 because he messed up my door, and they were just lying and lying. I mean, I didn't know people can lie, man. And I had
Yeah.
the camera, and I'm sitting there yelling. I see him plotting, and he's like, "Oh, I never hit your car," and I got so angry, and I'm like, "I have a effing camera right here." And then their
Right.
whole story changed,
Yeah.
and in like 5 days, I got a check for like, it was like $2,000 for a door. But I'm telling you, people lie, man. You got to have those cameras, especially on the highway in a box truck or a semi truck.
I
You
believe
gotta
them.
have it. I totally forgot about that, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. I appreciate it so much, man. Listen. What we were talking about earlier. If you want, with the SEO, you have my number. Just save it. Call me. I can help you with that with your website. Like I said, I'm
Appreciate
gonna put this all together. I'm gonna put it on my channel, and then I'm gonna link to your website. I'm gonna link to your quote page, because people always want quotes, and they ask me for quotes, and I don't, I try not to recommend people, but I'm just gonna send them to your page, or give them your number, and I'm gonna do the same for my blog. And thanks again, man. I appreciate it. This saves
Happy to
me a
help.
lot of questions. 'Cause like I said, I'm not a insurance agent. If you have a question for a doctor, you're not gonna ask a plumber. And
That's
this
right.
saved me a lot, man. I really appreciate it, brother.
I appreciate you. You have a good one.
You too, man. Have a good night, man.
Take care.
Take care. You too.